All right, what is up, guys? We got Dirty Mike and Cobbs Creek Beef back with our sixth podcast here, a 4th and 26 Philly Sports. Can't believe it's number 6 already, Foods. We're definitely cranking these videos out here, and thank you guys for coming along on this journey with us. You know, we started off really small, and we're, growing slowly but surely, but we got some really big things coming up with both March Madness and the NFL draft. We got some live specials planned, so we're going to be starting some live streaming soon. So make sure you check that out. Beef, we went through another tough loss tonight with the Sixers. I want to pose you a question, and this is all Philly sports in general. Do you feel like the way I feel that the general managers and just whoever make the decisions, talent scouts in Philadelphia on all teams, just do a horrendous job of evaluating talent?
I think that they definitely need some help, and I need to bring in either some sort of regulation, maybe some sort of headhunting efficiency team. But the thing is that it's not all the teams at the same time. It's
No.
maybe the football team a few years ago and how he righted the ship. Now it's the basketball team. What are we going to do about them? The Phillies are on the ascendancy. You know what I mean? I don't even want to talk about the Flyers. We can talk about that later. But I think that those specific managers, the ones that we have now, Harry Roseman, Dombrowski, all those ones, I think at this moment they're okay. I think they're decent, but yeah, in the past we have suffered horribly from evaluation, from scouting reports, underdeveloped kids. The combine's going on. That's obviously you want to do your best at the combine, but that's no metric for how good of a football player you can be.
No,
so it's a lot of stuff. A lot of faith is put into measurements that can be manipulated. Maybe don't mean so much down the road. Obviously, you need them for drafting statuses or whatever. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, I wouldn't say that they're the best. In totality, I'd give all of our GMs a B-, I would say, at this moment.
With the Sixers especially, we sat through some of the worst seasons that, I feel bad for Brett Brown. I don't by any means think Brett Brown was the best coach in the NBA, but man, no coach should have had to have gone through what he went through for the seasons of those tanking years, putting out players that would barely make a G League team. All to get a top 3 pick 4 years in a row. And those picks are Jahlil Okafor, Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Markelle Fultz. 2 of those being number 1 picks in Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz. I can't imagine 2 bigger, fuck ups with, number 1 picks than Simmons and Fultz.
And Fultz, yeah. Yeah, I mean, LSU, I think that's where Simmons went, right? LSU, right. Yeah. Obviously, decent team, no problem. Ben Simmons, he played around the world. It's not to say that they didn't, that it was a crazy pick. But yeah, what he turned out to be and is continuing to be still on other teams, again, that's a massive faux pas. And I mean, Markelle Fultz, what can you say about him? Orlando, right? Yeah, so
yeah, he's playing in Orlando, and
Orlando's not terrible, but they're not great. Again, you know what I mean?
Luckily, he's no more than a role player.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just definitely no more than a role player.
Been drafted where he was. So,
and the fact that we moved up to draft him, passing on Jason Tatum and giving an additional 1st round pick to them for them, just it makes it one of the biggest laughers, because now there's no bigger bane to the Sixers' existence than the Celtics right now. We can't get past them, and I hate to say it, but we did it to ourselves by giving them Jason Tatum and an additional 1st round pick. I'd have to look back and see who that pick ended up turning out becoming. I don't know if you know off the top of your head who that pick ended up being.
No, I don't.
I don't
Not
think
really sure.
I'm not sure if it was Jaylen Brown or not. If it was Jaylen Brown, that would just make it even more
Even
of a
worse. I
shame.
know. Yeah,
But
I'm. I'd have to watch. I'd have to see the roster for the Celtic. Yeah, I'm not
yeah,
100%,
but I
but
mean, we can't get past the Celtics, and we did it to ourselves. And now, three of those four picks are no longer on our team anymore, and the fourth one of them, Embiid. We talked about it in a short video, before we came on live doing this, whether or not, the Sixers should, look to get rid of him, consider the process a failure, and, get a huge haul of picks for him and just start over at this point. And it's a fair question.
yeah, you would get a cornucopia for him. And I was just talking to a buddy of mine. Hopefully we can get him on soon. He's a barbershop guy, barbershop Rye. Maybe we'll get him on. Shout out to you if you're watching and listening,
Nice.
buddy.
What's up, Ryan?
Yeah, so he can get him on. And he said the same thing. It's a shame to admit defeat. It's a shame to throw in the towel, but you have to do what's best for the team. And like we just talked about for the GMs, that's their ultimate job, is to make the team succeed. So, I mean, Boston, it is a shame that Boston has our number. The Red Sox had our number today, Foods. Oh, my God. What was it, like 15-3? I mean, I know it's only spring training for the Phillies, but good God, they got wallets too. So, I really don't want to, admit to the fact that we are definitely on the downscale playing right now. But, I mean, there's time left in this basketball season, and certainly plenty of time left in the baseball season. It hasn't even started yet. But the time is now, Foods. They got to be more disciplined. I think, again, we talked about this earlier. They got to, maybe a Doc has to adjust the zone, whatever 2-3 zone they're playing, maybe stretch it out a little bit. I think that they crash too much, so they got to be more disciplined in the lanes. You mentioned that. Just some, fundamentals that can be fixed. And if they are fixed, shooting, accuracy, free throws, offensive boards, they'll all come to you if you do the small things correctly.
Is it a coaching issue?
It's starting to feel like it is, isn't it? Because, I mean, it's a coaching issue when you're going on streaky runs. You're up 30, 25 points, and the next thing you're down 25 points. You're up 17, and the next thing they claw their way back in that fucking third quarter.
The third quarter.
6 points down. You know what I mean? It's
I mean, tonight's game was a complete explosion. I mean, they were down by 4 going into halftime, and that was a pretty frenetic pace. And, I didn't think that the Sixers could keep that up. But, it went from 4 points up to 25 points within, I think, the first, 6 minutes of the third quarter. I mean, they just went on an absolutely massive run. And, give credit to, the Sixers for, clawing back in the game in the fourth quarter. Tyrese Maxey had a really good, fourth quarter, and he had a great game. His parents were there tonight because he's actually from he's from that area in Texas. So, he had family there tonight. So he put on a good show, but, he's finally looks like he's starting to round back to form. I'd like to see him, in the starting lineup consistently, and I'd like to see them come out a half and just not, have these, just incredible streaks like you're talking about. And it's a lack of focus, and that's a coach's issue.
That's preparation.
And preparation. Like, you got to know a team's going to come at you in the third quarter coming out. And, I don't understand why it can't be them, the ones that are attacking. Like, let's use the Eagles for an example this year. The second quarter for the Eagles this year. It didn't matter what they did in the first quarter. We knew that in the second quarter, they were going to turn it on and, open up the floodgates, build a big lead, and then look to run the ball and run it down in the second half and wear teams down. And that was their success. That was their formula for success. I feel like the Sixers don't have an identity.
I was about to say, that was their culture. We don't have a culture at this moment.
No, we don't have a culture. And, we talked briefly about, Embiid, after this year. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion at this point. We're not going to keep Harden, correct?
I'm going to have to say, what are you going to do? Give him 5 years, 6 years at $60 million, $10 million a year till 2029? I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, the Sixers will be thrown back a decade and a half if they do something like that.
Yeah, yeah, they'll screw up they will do like what like the Nets have done and other teams have done, completely fucked up their future, mortgaged it.
Yeah, I mean, they'll mortgage the future. Maybe they'll be able to, hang around the 3-4 seed every year for the next, 4 or 5 years, get
Mhm.
bounced out of the playoffs every single year. Can we hope that they maybe put it together for 1 year and make a run? I mean, maybe, but I don't see it happening with him. You know, I like I was listening to them talk about this on WIP earlier, and I was like, wow, that really does make sense. Anthony Davis on the Lakers, he's as soft
Yeah.
as baby shit. He is
Hmm.
as soft as baby shit. But when LeBron comes and LeBron's playing, LeBron holds him accountable because LeBron has a championship culture and LeBron expects to compete for a championship every year, and he gives 100% effort, and he holds Anthony Davis accountable to that. And you could see it when LeBron's now not out there playing and injured. Anthony Davis reverts right back to, I'm just going to phone it in. You
Yeah,
know,
blase. Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
score my 25 points. Just kind of la di da, and just not have that championship pedigree to where you're held accountable, and you have to have another superstar next to you that's going to hold you accountable to that. And I think that they brought Harden in hoping that he could be that person, but Harden isn't that person either.
Yeah, you don't see nobody sandbagging on the Bucks because Giannis won't have it. Like you fucking, they won what 9 games in a row? Like
They've won 16 games in a row.
16. That dude, I heard 6, and I was like, no way. I thought it was way more than
No,
that.
they've
And
won 16 games in a row.
I'm looking it up, and I must have run out of screen before
Yeah,
of
there was
all
like
their games.
there was like two more screens up there.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Nobody sandbags it when he's around. You know what I mean? Like that, he ain't going to take that.
No, he holds everybody accountable to it, and
And that's why I have a ring.
that's why they have a ring, and that's why they're going to compete for a ring every single year. And Embiid's not that person. He
Mm.
needs somebody on his team to be beside him, but I also, beg the question: is Embiid open to that type of criticism and that type of pushing? Because Embiid kind of seems like, he wants the team to run through him and be his team. And
I have a feeling that if he has respect for that person, like somebody like LeBron, who can go head to head and keep pace with Embiid, I think Embiid would. I think he really would. Have looked to that person like a mentor. Remember the movie Rising Sun? You had Senpai and the Kohai. That would be their relationship. You know what I'm saying?
you know who I think could have been that player, and I think they picked the wrong player. Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy
Oh yeah, for
Butler.
Tobias Harris. Yeah, yeah.
No, for Ben Simmons, even they already had Tobias signed up at that point.
Oh, I mean that's what I meant. Like you would rather get rid of
I would have rather have gotten rid of Ben
kept
Simmons at that
right and
time
kept Jimmy. I got you. Okay, I see what you're saying.
and keep Jimmy for
Yeah, I
sure.
got you.
And at
Mm-hmm.
that point, they probably could have still gotten something for Ben Simmons, and then you put like another piece around him: Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, JJ Redick. He was at the end of his career at that point, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the team. I think that was the team when we got Jimmy buckets. I thought this is the process being completed right here with those, four guys. If we couldn't win a championship with Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, and Embiid, it isn't going to happen. But, Jimmy Butler had issues with Brett Brown, and, they got in a fight pretty much right away in the locker room. And Jimmy wanted to get out of town. As long as Brett Brown was the coach, he didn't want to stick around, and he didn't want to be on our team, which sucks because that would have been the team right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my man, he didn't want to lay down. He realized that he was still in the tanking process phase, but he wanted to win. So, I mean, can't
They
blame
were
him.
they were competitive that year. They
They,
were they
they
were good.
were.
They were
They
good. They were
were.
good. They were good that year, but they just weren't. They didn't have the right coach in place to
Mm.
make a deep run that year. He didn't respect Brett Brown, so
You're not going to get past the Raptors and all those teams
no.
back then when they were good. They almost did, but
They
not that.
almost did, and that would have been the process completed right there. I think
Mm-hmm.
that was our best chance, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. The process is dead at this
Really?
point. Yeah,
I want to disagree with you, Foods. I
I know.
really do, but I'm here. I'm living it. We're watching the same games. Like, what is missing is something we'll never understand, and it'll take some sort of serendipitous, discovery in order for us to be, oh, that was the key. That's the reason it wasn't going, the square peg wasn't going in a round hole.
Yeah. It's tough to watch it happen for sure because we love the Sixers, man.
I know.
The town loves the Sixers, just like we love the Flyers. It can be we're not even going to get started on them.
Well, let me just tell you, Foods, I got something on my chest. I want to get this off real quick.
Yeah, let's get it off. Let's hear it.
This is about the Flyers. If I see another team take over either the Wells Fargo, Citizens Bank Park, because I don't know if you saw any of that game the other day with New York, where they almost won. They lost in overtime.
Yeah.
There were at least 60, 70% New York fans. And then when the Mets come here to Citizens Bank, yo, Philly fan, we got to represent a little better, man. We cannot let somebody come into our barn, into our park. I mean, I know the Mets fan. I know they travel. They're only like, 70, 80 miles away. Yeah. But if their teams are doing well, their teams are doing well. But I get it. But oh man, it broke my heart seeing, the stadium. I wouldn't say being taken over, but just so many opposite jerseys in there, and I'm just like, oh, what am I looking at?
Yeah, you're not used to seeing that because, during the Phillies, years of, competing and winning the National League East, in their World Series run and all, we went through a huge, huge streak. You remember that big streak of sellouts at Citizens Bank Park?
Yeah, they were getting 44,000 for like a year and a half.
Yeah, at least. I mean, it was selling out every single game and, everybody was into it. And, I feel like more in recent years, especially early in the season when the weather's not that great, you're just not getting a good turnout.
Yeah. Again, if I see like Mets, it's funny because it's usually the Metropolitan fans, you know what I mean? And Mets and Rangers. Sometimes you'll get the Yankees, but that's all interleague play. Same thing for Boston. But it's our division. I mean, you don't really see Braves fans traveling, but of course they're twice as far away. But
yeah.
I want to be known as the teams or the team of the teams that are the traveling fanfare. That keep it. I'm saying keep it mature, keep it clean. Don't embarrass yourself, but represent. Let them know that you're going to play. If you're going to play here, we're certainly not going to make it easy on you. And we're not going to make it easy on you if you're playing somewhere else and we're visiting.
And Citizens Bank Park, historically has been a tough place for, opposing teams to play because of, we'll go back to the days of the vet, man, up in the 700 level and all. If you showed up, I remember it was my graduating class at Bonner.
99.
Yes, I remember they had, I think it was senior skip day, and it was the same day as O'Hara's, and there was a Phillies game on in the daytime, and they ended up getting to a giant brawl in the 700 level, and they made the back page of the Daily News and Times.
You can still find that shit on YouTube. I think poor Dave Green went to that.
Oh, rest in peace, Dave.
Yeah. Now, he didn't die. He didn't pass away at the brawl.
He did not.
Just let everybody understand a little bit later. But he was there.
He was there, but it used to be an intimidating place to play for sure, and now the vet, I remember we used to be able to go to the vet, the team stunk during those years, my God, except for like the 93 team, but you used to be able to go to the vet and be one of the only people in the outfield and just catch all the home run balls and batting practice balls you wanted. But the people that were there, if you were wearing another jersey, you were going to catch shit and you were going to get shit thrown at you. And it was an intimidating place to play, but, now it just seems like we're kind of losing that, home field, swagger that we, really had with the Phillies.
And I don't mind having it shared and shine to other Philadelphia fans in the country. And it's actually really nice because I talk to friends of mine in Germany, in Great Britain, people in Asia like the Eagles. Like, it's great. I love that they're worldwide, love worldwide. Let's just not forget to love locally, fam. Don't forget to show to show pride here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good coming off of a World Series. Making it the Game 6 of the World
Game
Series.
6,
I think there's some hype going into the season. I think if Bryce Harper wasn't injured for the first 3 quarters of the year, I think that it would have been a sellout pretty much from opening day. And with Trey Turner coming in there, some of the excitement with new pitchers and stuff, I think that it really would have been a great home field advantage from the beginning. But we'll see when spring training ends and they get back up to Philly what kind of turnout you get early in the year. It really depends on the weather, because it's a tough sell to get people out there and 40-degree early April nights when it's rainy and shitty and it's a weeknight. The kids have school the next day. It's a tough sell, early in the year, but
definitely. Yeah, but there is some good news. Progress on Bryce. I've been listening, paying attention, following it closely. He's like 2-3 weeks ahead of schedule.
That's good.
That's great, dude.
Yeah.
We were talking about the dry swinging like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
He's doing great. I mean, I want to say he's with everybody, so it's not like he's missing time bonding and talking and helping the young, players on the team. So that's just as important. And once he's back to at least 70, 80%, he can get back on the machine, do the jugs, just start hitting them, do the curveball machine.
I got a question for you, Foods.
Fire away.
Bryce Harper had some really big years early on his career with the Nationals. And, he put in 6-7 years with the Nationals. And, for a while, he was pretty hated in Philly, because we were seeing him, 17, 18 times a year. But now I think he's entering his 5th season with the Phillies. Has he crossed over from being a National to being a career Philly at this point?
I think only the die-hard Philadelphia Philly fans are still a touch unconvinced. After what he did last
last year did it. For me
convinced me.
The year before that, he won the MVP, and that was awesome. But I just still didn't consider him like one of our boys, like kind of like we had with like Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, the
Brent
guys.
Selleck.
Yeah, people who came up through our organization, and we got to know them for years before they even made the team. And, for a few years, he kind of just felt like a gun for hire. But we knew we had him for so many seasons locked up that eventually he was going to make that transition. And I think last year, what he did in the playoffs, for me, and, probably other fans too, officially solidified him as a Philly.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the consensus at this specific area. And I think the National fans are where we were now when he was on their team. You know what I mean? So it's funny how the worm turns. El gusano, you know what I mean? Yerar.
Yeah, so I'm if we could just tread water and just kind of hang, within maybe like 4 or 5 games of the division and maybe a game to 3-4 games of those wild card spots when he comes back and kind of starts getting ramped up, because we talked about this before. He's not going to come back and be at all-star level, MVP level Bryce Harper right away. It's going to take him, it's going to take him months, and I don't think he's going to have that this year. By the time he gets back, it's going to be, mid-July or late July or even August if they play it safe with him. Now you're looking at August, to get all the kinks out. That's the hardest thing to get back is hitting a fastball or a curveball for that matter. So
you're right. But I look at it this way too, because if he does come back, say those dog days of July and on he's fresh, Foods.
Yeah.
And he is unmattered, unmatted for the year so far. He doesn't have any other injuries. His shoulder ain't messed up.
Right.
His ankle isn't fucking twisted.
If he come back,
100% at that time, and we're only say 500 or maybe a game, give or take. I think I have some faith, Foods. Like you said, it'll take some time, but I think just his presence alone is enough to help elevate everything.
Do you feel like the Phillies did enough with their pitching staff in the offseason, or do you think that it's going to have to be something to where if, they're competitive and when the trade deadline comes, do you think they're going to have to go out there and get another starting pitcher, like a higher, caliber?
Yeah, I think they might. Now, it's not to say that they need a lot. I think what they addressed this
Yeah.
offseason,
The
who they
bullpen looks
locked
good.
up, yeah, I think they did a real good job. Middleton delegated everybody down. I think he did well. I'm not saying again, I'm not going to say he gets an A, but a B plus is fair. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? But like, yeah, they still got. When's the trade then? That's like it got pushed back. It's like beginning of August now, I think, right?
Yeah, it's late. It's late.
Late, super
So
late. Yeah. So they got plenty of time for that to see who's developed. Maybe go scouting down in I know we like to go and look in Texas and Houston and the Rangers and all the teams down there. So, let's see, maybe they can do some better scouting, and it's very possible, Foods. I think that they might have to make a few more moves to get either a decent playoff, look into the playoff picture, or to at least get into the playoffs at that
yeah.
point.
And, something I think that they also have to address this season, it became really evident in the playoffs that the Phillies were absolutely living off of the long ball. It was either they were hitting 5, 6 home runs a game, or they were getting 1 hit, 2 hits, or getting no hit, and, it became really evident as the longer the playoffs went that they were just surviving off of the long ball and they were not playing small ball whatsoever. So I feel like they really have to get back to that this year. I'm looking to Stott for something like that to be a catalyst. I'm looking to Marsh to be a catalyst for something like that. Tough at bats, working the walk, not just, swinging for the fences every time and getting strikeouts. The Phillies got way too many strikeouts last year.
Mm-hmm. Several points of that. You're talking about a few that you just mentioned, Stott and what have you. Castellanos,
Yeah.
boy, I need you to have a year. I'm not saying you need to be Kyle Schwarber, but you had some pretty good catches. Your defense was good during the playoffs and during World Series. He had that killer catch, kept them, kept it up. Two of them, yeah. One with the Braves too. But let me tell you, his bat needs to come alive. I
Yeah.
also want to actually. I don't want to see any God. I mean, playoffs a long time away, but if I see a fucking bullpen playoff game
Yeah.
again,
I never want to see Noah Syndergaard out there pitching 2 innings and then bringing someone else in. I mean, my God, that was painful, and that's what became evident during the World Series that we didn't have enough. We
yeah,
didn't
they
have enough.
ran out of gas. They
We
didn't
ran
have
out.
enough, ran out of gas, exactly. And depended on the long ball. Now, the last point I want to make is I think that the rule changes this year
Yeah.
will help the batters a little bit more. Obviously, everyone gets the clock, but the batter can assess the field better than the pitcher has to assess the count of what he wants to throw, how fast, what's the next pitch, sequences, and if anybody's on base, that adds another distraction.
Yeah. And, having the pitch clock there, it keeps you locked into the game. I feel like, the way baseball is, and a bat could end up lasting 5 minutes with 2, 3, 4 pickoff attempts, stepping off of the bag, the batter stepping out of the box. I mean, you're just not getting into any kind of rhythm to where if, you're going to see another pitch in 15 seconds, you're in there, you're locked in, you're ready to go, and it keeps you focused. And some of the best players maybe were able to do that before, but not everybody for sure.
Now, certainly not the fans. I used to see people bringing crossword puzzles and word searches and shit, and they would solve literally a puzzle in an inning.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. So I'm definitely looking forward to the rule changes. It's going to be weird at first, for sure. And there's going to be a lot of bullet point hot topics in the first month of the year. There's going to be crazy shit that happens. Walk-off wins with, the umps. A referee or an umpire should never, ever, ever determine the outcome of a game. A good umpire or a referee is there to manage a game. If you don't hear their name mentioned, then they did a great job.
It's unfortunate that baseball is the one that you hear most frequently.
Yeah. I think eventually they're going to move to an electronic strike zone. I see that being the next move. I really, truly do. And I think they are testing it out with some I don't know if it's in college or some minor league teams are experimenting with that, but I think they're eventually going to move to an electronic strike zone.
I can see it. It might take some years, but I can see it. It's certainly nothing that is out of the realm of possibility. I mean, I shouldn't be hearing Joe West's name. I shouldn't be hearing CB Buckner's name. I shouldn't be hearing Angel fucking Hernandez's name. Like,
no.
What are we doing here? You're not getting paid $8 million a year, dude.
No, I mean, I think he'll still be I think they'll still be standing behind home plate, but they'll maybe have some sort of sensor or a buzzer that, there's an electronic strike zone and it instantly sends him a pulse, whether it's a ball or a strike, like right away.
Yeah.
And I think that's eventually what they're going to move towards. I don't think it's going to be anytime maybe in the next 5 years, but I think they're going to eventually move towards that. And, that'll only help, pitchers and batters to get some consistency, because there's nothing worse than an umpire calling something the whole game and then all of a sudden it doesn't get called in an important moment. You're like, what the hell?
Oh, it's so true. And I'm watching old, baseball games and ejections and fights from the 90s. They're still the same umpires 30 plus years later. Let's get some turnover in here, for God's sake. You know what I mean? What are we doing? Yeah. It's like, I don't think U.S. senators have as much of a term, limit as the baseball people.
Yeah.
It's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, it's time to definitely for some of these guys to move on for sure. But it's good to be talking baseball again. We've been very Eagles heavy over the first, month of our podcast. We're still new with this. So, it just so happened we kind of started this during the Super Bowl run. And, and then having to unpack the aftermath of it. And then, we got the Sixers, in full swing right now. But, with the Phillies just kind of starting, it's good to be able to start talk some baseball, because it's a long summer, man, with just depending how long the Sixers make it. If they're out of it in, the beginning of May, it's going to be a long 3-4 months until Eagle season starts again.
And I mean, you got summer league, you got, stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, it's just going to be, baseball. And it's funny that you mentioned football, because, I mean, we got draft. It's great that the NFL can extend the year and make something interesting all year round. So that's nice. But, still, it's not the football that we crave. But it's important because it builds the teams that we love.
It does. And it's great when you make it to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, and then you only have a couple months till draft. So you don't have that long gap, in between, the end of December, beginning of January, all the way till the end of April, with really nothing going on with your team until the draft. So it's definitely nice to have a competitive team for sure. Before we wrap this up, I want to talk a little bit about the NFL draft coming up.
Because I have a question for you, but good.
All right. I did a video on this earlier in the week, and I'm sure you've been hearing some talk. Obviously, it's a pretty tragic situation what happened with, Jalen Carter and some of his teammate and one of the staffers, after I believe was it after the national championship game, or was it after the parade?
I think it was during the celebration. Yeah,
I think so too. But obviously an arrest warrant had been issued. He turned himself in. He bonded out, and he actually showed up at the combine today. Now he's not competing, but he's not going to compete in anything in the combine, but he's still going to have to, do the interview circuit, and he's going to have to answer a lot of questions. Mel Kiper has him still as the number one prospect, not the number one. He's not going to be the number one.
You're talking about being a D tackle. I got you.
Yeah, but being number one, prospect for the whole draft. So obviously, I think this is going to hurt his draft stock to a I think it's going to fall from him being a top 5 pick. So my question is, do you take him at number 10?
That's a good question. I have a counter question for you before I even answer that. You answer this one. Would you package our first round picks and whatever else you could do to get Jalen Ramsey from the Rams?
No.
Okay.
No.
I also was thinking no, but it wasn't as quick as you said.
No, I'll tell you why it's a no.
I agree with you. No, but you were like,
I think it's a no because, you draft that position and then you have him under control for, 4 or 5 years. He's going to be 29, 30. Maybe he'll give you 2, 3 good years. We don't.
Yeah, he's 29. He's getting $17 million or something like that.
That's the big issue right there. I mean, we're paying him. We'd have to pay him such big money that just completely hamstrings us to fill.
That's my number one reason
on defense. Yeah, I mean, would I love him on the team? Absolutely, put him in Slade Road out there, but. No, absolutely not. I definitely would not even entertain that thought. Even bringing him in as a free agent, let alone giving a number 10 draft pick up for him. No, I wouldn't even think about that.
Nice. Good. But back to your question about Carter is I would consider it. I would want to see where his head's at, but the Eagles have a great culture about bringing people back and helping them to rehabilitate their image and their reputation, like Vic, various other people from the past. It's just, I think that it would be something that we could look into, but I don't know if I would take him specifically. I like the defense, the idea of taking somebody on the defense, maybe Joey Porter Jr., somebody like that. But again, who knows where he'll be. But let me say, I would consider it. I would absolutely consider it strongly.
Here's the thing with him. They have to decide whether or not he's a good kid who just made a boneheaded mistake.
Exactly.
Or is he a dude that's just, his head's just not really in it? Because I've heard a lot of things from him that his head is just not in the game. He's not a student of the game. He doesn't love football. He loves playing, but he's not like that type of dude that's going to be, grinding it out to, become better and better. He doesn't have that work ethic.
Yeah, he's not like Peyton Manning. I got you.
Or like Jalen Hurts, even for an example.
Okay. Yeah. I understand.
So, the fact that you have, that with, then these legal issues that he's facing, because if he's a good dude, he just made a mistake, even if he has, court hearings, he's not really getting on the field much his first year. I'm fine with that to have a stud for the next 10 years. But, if he has all these questions and there's the issue with his character and whether he even has a good work ethic, but that kind of can come with being involved with a good team.
That's what I'm about to say. If you couple him with a coach, like you just said.
Yeah. So I mean, if that's the case, with the veterans, but now this is a weird year for the Eagles defense. You may lose Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, some of those veterans that would, really be like, yo, man, this is the way we do shit around here. This is our team. This is how you need to do shit. I think if he came into a team with those dudes, then, he'd be okay. But if he's stepping on the, a brand new defensive line, a lot of new defenders, there's a lot of turmoil, new defensive coordinator. We don't really have that culture. I don't know, man. I think that might be a mistake.
Well, we'll see, because where he is, like you said, he could drop. I think at this moment, it looks like projected that Indy might take him or something like. We'll talk about all this shit as the weeks and months go on, but. I mean, having 2 first-round picks and one of them is the top 10 is huge. So there's so much magic that Howie can pull off. I know that the later rounds aren't great. I think they got 2 fourths and maybe a couple more in the later rounds, something like that.
Yeah, I think we only have 6 picks in total. We don't have.
Last year we had 11. Remember? It was crazy.
Yeah, I don't see. I'm not 100% convinced the Eagles are actually going to even take the number 10 pick. I could see them.
Yeah. moving around. That's what I'm saying. That's a lot of collateral.
Yeah, I mean, this is a deep draft. This is a
Mm-hmm.
pretty deep draft. So, I could see the Eagles possibly, if somebody offers them an additional second round pick or something like that to move from like 10 back to like 13, 14, 15. I could see them doing that for sure.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what Howie's got up his sleeve, and I'll tell you the truth, I'm excited because we can speculate all we want, but we don't really know.
We don't. We don't, but I'll tell you what, and people kill me for saying this all the time, but I'm sure people are sick of hearing that. But God, wouldn't you love to see some RPOs with Bijan Robinson and Jalen Hurts? I mean, my God, they would just be absolutely unstoppable.
And you know what? If they can solve the Sayamalu thing and all the the line shit,
Yeah.
they can absolutely carve some teams up. I mean, our division isn't the best. So again, and we talked about how the NFC conference in itself isn't great. So I mean, we have the opportunity with a good draft, decent cap management, and if we get a favorable schedule, I don't see why we can't be double-digit wins again.
No,
13,
no.
12, maybe.
I'll tell you what, you know what I'm looking at right now on my phone? I was trying to pull it up, and I don't think this draft class has aged very well.
Yeah.
I'm pulling up the 2020 draft with
Okay.
and I'm going to go over our picks, starting with pick number 21, Jalen Reagor. We obviously know how that turned out,
Right.
missing out on Justin Jefferson.
Jefferson, right. Yeah.
Yeah, we hit with Jalen Hurts. I mean, we could have never expected more from a second round pick with Jalen Hurts. Our third round pick was Davion Taylor.
Okay.
Our fourth
Great.
round pick was Kayvon Wallace.
Okay.
Fourth round pick, Jack Driscoll. George, he's a serviceable backup. I'm thinking that they may try to have him a starter this year, which I do not want to see.
I was about to say fourth is about the right place to draft him. I was thinking even fifth,
Fifth round pick, John Hightower.
Okay.
He wide receiver. He didn't
Yeah.
really end up anything special. Sean Bradley, Quez Watkins. I mean, for a 6th round pick, I think Quez gave you pretty much his max ceiling, to be honest with you. I mean, I think we kind of over evaluated what Quez Watkins really truly was,
I think he might have just overachieved
He
more
might
than
have
anything.
overachieved early, and then we expected him to keep kind of, ascending. And I think he reached, what he really was, a 6th round pick. Prince Wanagoho and Casey Toohill. So, I mean, really off of this, we got Quez Watkins, we got Jack Driscoll. Kayvon Wallace is filled in from time to time. It's
Right. Not terrible in the D. Yeah.
Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's not a great draft, for sure. I think we need to hit with this draft. We need to hit with just about all of our players. If there was ever a year that we have to hit with our draft, it's this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think Howie knows that. I think other teams might know that too. So they might be asking for a little bit more or maybe a little bit harder to deal with. But and hopefully we can do live streaming that night,
We will.
that Thursday. Yeah,
We
by then,
will be.
you see that white phone, that red phone. You've seen the movie with, Kevin Costner,
Yes.
where everything gets changed at the last second. I mean, it's not that dramatic, but it's true.
Yeah, I can't wait. And if anybody's still watching us 44 minutes into this podcast, we will be doing a draft party. We'll announce it long before that, but we will be doing a draft party for the entire first round.
But you're invited.
Yes, everybody is invited. We're going to have multiple guests on the show, and it's going to be a good party, and it's going to be a long one too. So, we'll definitely stay tuned for that. And I'm definitely excited for that. We just need a few more viewers, a few more subs to get to that magic 50 mark. We're getting close. I think we're at 38 at this point. So we're getting there, man. We started with 0 a couple weeks back. So, we're slowly getting there for sure. But definitely, we appreciate all the support, guys. If you guys aren't subs yet, make sure you hit the sub button and click the bell for notifications. I put out videos just about every night. But me and Beef definitely do this podcast once a week, and we also get together for some hot takes throughout the week to kind of fill in the gaps. And we'll be back again, shortly with a few more videos. Thank you guys for sticking with us tonight. I hope we brought some good information for you guys, and let us know how we did in the comment section and what you guys think about some of the shit we said, especially with Embiid. We definitely talked about that for a little bit tonight, and it was good to talk about the Phillies as well. We'll be back with another podcast shortly, and everybody have a good, safe night. Catch you
Thanks,
later.
Philly fam.
All right.